the old cap was rated for about 15 psi, whereas it's supposed to be a 13 psi cap. So I replaced that, got a 13 psi cap the way it should be, and the overheating portion of the issue went away, but not the steaming issue. Now, let me come over here. There is no water coming from the weep hole on the wall. So the issue is today that with or without the cap, as soon as the engine gets up to operating temperature, which I've already used my infrared thermometer to check, and in hot, 30 minutes plus of driving and idling, it's at like 101 to 104 degrees, so it's not hot at all. Again, I have a 4-row Champion Radiator, so it's not going to be hot. But anyways, as a recap for anybody that doesn't know, within the past 2 years, the truck has had a new radiator, upper and lower radiator hoses, and a new water pump. So the entire system, aside from the thermostat, is all new. Now, back to about 3 weeks ago, basically I was driving, came to a stop sign, and there's just steam coming up everywhere, and I couldn't figure it out. So I get it onto the house, and I can't figure out where the leak is coming from. I went and used the truck about 50 miles away, pulling a small trailer, and it was absolutely trying to overheat, like trying its best. So I stopped, put some more water in just to get me home, and then I ended up adding more coolant later, so it wasn't straight water. But at any rate, I deduced that the cap was the issue, that it was set up as the old cap. Alright, so here is my coolant issue. It's filled up to the neck. See that? And you can see a little bit of coolant stain. And it's been running about 15 minutes now. So what you're going to need to test this to find the leak is a pressure tester for your radiator. It replaces the cap, lets you introduce air, aka pressure, and then it forces the liquid out of the hole wherever it may be. So this is EverTough. It's from O'Reilly's. I rented it for the low sum of $162.72. I was the only person that's ever rented this. And then they looked and they was like, oh, that's why. Because it's $162.17 after tax to rent it. And what you get, I'll open it up so you don't have to pay the $162 to look at it, is you're going to get this. It's effectively a glorified bicycle pump with a pressure gauge on it and adapters to fit whatever you got. Now, sometimes you can get hit, it will just be perfectly sized and you can just use this and not have to use the adapter. But basically this just goes in, clicks in place, and then after that, this clicks in place on top of that and you introduce your air. Okay, so this is going to be kind of hard to do one-handed, but you'll get the gist. So you click this in place like a radiator cap, this twists, locks it in place, and then you have your glorified bicycle pump, and you have your pressure there, and then basically you just pump it a few times to create pressure inside of the radiator. I already hear it. So far I have located, like I told my wife, 5 minutes of this tool, I already figured it out. Basically, you'll figure it out real quick. As I pump, you're gonna see the water come out right there. So basically the upper tank has failed on my radiator. So it means I have to get it either patched or Champion Radiators is supposed to have a lifetime warranty. So we'll go from there. Again, it's right here. You can see where the coolant was coming out, and basically due to the deep angle, as you see there, it's higher in the front than the back. It leaks here, runs through the fins, back, and then gets kicked out by the fan. So to kick this story on off, as a recap, my Champion radiator that I bought 2 years ago, which is a 4-row, it sprung a leak. And when I say it sprung a leak, it's right there on the bottom side of that weld. Only under a situation where the engine is heated up and you're driving, or it's running, does it become an issue. Past that, it's not an issue, you don't lose coolant, but when it does, it begins spewing coolant from right there, steaming up the place. So I contacted the guy that I bought it off of through eBay. I'll put the link somewhere for his eBay store, because he's a stand-up kind of guy. And Champion, I don't know if a lot of people knows it or not, but they have a lifetime warranty on their products. If you buy it, as long as it's, well, they give you a whole thing of as long as it's within this date and that. But it basically boils down to, was it the original radiator purchased for that vehicle, and are you the purchaser? If both of those are yes, then bada bing, bada boom, you get a new one. Or at least that was my experience. The guy that I contacted, he's like, hey, I need some photos just to show, you know, that it wasn't actually damaged, it was just that, which my damage was on the front. Most people's would be on the back if it was a fan damage. But yeah, a week later, I get a new radiator, and we're getting ready to put it in, and that way I can drive the truck.